Oh yeah,
What's up, man?
man. Not nothing. How you doing, man?
Cool, man. I'm pretty good.
Hell
Feel
yeah.
feel like the phone's kind of leaning, like I'm
Oh,
gonna be one of those Batman 66 angles where I'm like all sideways.
I was doing that
I'll
earlier,
get
man.
you, Batman.
I was doing that earlier. I took my little laptop and set it up this way. But what does it look like if it's standing? Oh, okay, all right. It was
Ah.
it was not good.
Oh, that looks like ass.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was far more crotch than face. So I'm like, yeah, you should probably go back to the other way.
Yeah,
Or
that's not gonna work.
or maybe you should.
Mm.
That's right.
Whoa.
It's, we're gonna have episode 164, maybe our crotch episode. You guys can tell us in the comments if it's an improvement.
Not so fast, my friend.
Man, I was watching that YouTube show where two guys have their dicks talking to each other. Man, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Some good points were made.
It's better than you think.
Yeah. Now. Hold on.
Yeah,
Give it a shot.
don't let that deter you.
On the surface,
Yeah, for real.
it sounds not safe for work. But don't worry about
It's fine.
it.
It's fine. Now I understand that when I describe the show to you, it sounds dumb as shit. But just watch it. See what you think. I'm stuck on I know it's stupid, and this is far from the funniest thing in it, man. But every now and again, you know how YouTube is, man. They'll send you clips of, or not clips, but recommendations of things you've already seen that you really like.
Yeah.
And one the other day that popped up was the Steve Brule special segment about living alone, which I absolutely love anyway.
Yeah.
But I can't decide what my favorite part of it is because I do absolutely love. Well, guess what? Here's some tips for things you could do to make it seem less awful. I absolutely love less awful. But I swear, I think my favorite thing on it is when he's talking about start right at the beginning, and it's the way it's a cut, but the way the voice goes from here to here is my favorite thing. Where he's all like, "Hi, I'm Dr. Steve Brule with some tips on living on your lonesome." And as soon as he gets done with living on your lonesome, it immediately goes to him standing with his hand on his hip. He's like, "You live alone like I do." There's the way he says you can live alone like I do that I'm in the floor every single time because it's like one long word that's garbled and I love it. That junk cracks me up every time I see it, man.
It's not that bad.
Dude, it's so awesome. Well, guess what? There's some tips for things you can do to make it less awful. Less awful. Poor Steve. Man, Steve Brule is awesome, especially like we've talked about for a long time. We've been John C. Riley guys for a while.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that the first things I saw John C. Riley in was some of it was pretty heavy lifting drama. I mean, he's real good at that. So then the idea of
Yeah.
I don't know if it was just the comedy script started turning up or that's just what he started picking, but he is I love that guy. He is awesome. But I think Steve Brule is fascinating that he winds up on Tim and Eric and is like, yeah, this character. Apparently, it's like I had this character, and they're like, sure, that'll be great, and it was like, oh my god, this is so good, man.
Yeah.
One last thing about Steve Brule, man. If you haven't seen the skateboards episode, you got to watch the skateboarding episode. That's my all-time favorite. That is the coolest thing ever. I'll find it and send it to you. It'll be awesome.
Oh man, that's cool. That's uh, Tim and Eric. I can take in small doses, but when they get their friends to come in and play with, I'm like, oh, now I'm down.
It's strange. I'm with you. I love one of my things. Tim and Eric is like watching independent wrestling. I absolutely love that they've got the green light to do whatever the hell they want to. And then a lot of times when people can filter it, that's when I like it. I love it. Like freaking Totino's. I watch that once a week. That shit cracks me up. It's so stupid. It makes I love it. I absolutely love it. I couldn't begin to explain why I think it's as funny as I do, but I enjoy the crap out of it every time I see it, man.
Man, it's early on in the run. I want to say it was Tim and Eric's Awesome Show or whatever it was called, but it's I would make people sick, pissed off at me. Anytime I would just come in and talk about spaghetti.
God damn it again.
It's that Italian pasta mode. Marinara.
You know what my favorite thing to get on the Wendy's Mega Bar was? Spaghetti. We're just going to merge our stories together. But I am for the Totino's thing, man, I honestly don't envision a scenario in which I will ever go to Dragon Con again. Yeah. Not that I don't want to, I just don't think I will. But if I ever go back to Dragon Con, I'm going to go as Hard Rock Joe. I think that'd be funny as shit. That would be so awesome. Walk around and talk like this all day about Totino's pizza rolls. That would be the best, man.
Yeah, man.
It'd be great to you and the 17 people that, well, you know what? I was going to say the 17 people that recognized what you were, but it'd be in Atlanta. There's probably quite a few people that would know what you were doing.
I would hedge my bets on that one.
Yeah. It's like, well, after I thought about it, I'm like, I don't know. You know what? If there's going to be at least a dozen people that would know what you were, you're in the right town for it. Yeah, you're in the right town.
It's the spot for it, brother.
Man.
Okay. Excuse me. Speaking of awful and miserable and living on Bay of Lonesome, I sat down and watched the Dark Side of the Ring this week. And
this week,
man, you're so lucky. You're so lucky you didn't see it.
Dynamite Kid, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It popped up, and I've got it in my to be watched stuff. But yeah, I skipped it. I haven't seen it yet. So lay it on me.
Oh man, it's definitely it's keeping with the theme. The theme of this year is one and dones. Check it out, instant delete. Never want to see this again. And I kind of knew it going in because I made you sit through this freaking shoot interview that he did. That I don't remember who it was that produced it, but I got it off High Spots several years ago, and pretty much the whole shoot is bullshit. It's nothing. Bullshit. And it's like, come on, man, give me something. But good old Tommy doing his Tommy shit. It's just kind of it's really not fun to watch. But and this kind of knowing that going in and watching this episode, I was like, man, if any, they've got that kind of behind the music thing about him. Like, surely they'll give me something about this guy that Cindy Hall. Like, oh man, that's a side of Tommy I've never seen before. He was all right. He was all right, dude. They couldn't even find that. They couldn't do it. One of the neatest things about the episode is first time in a long time, my dude Lance Storm shows up and he's sat down. I think he sat down to interview for another episode that they have coming up.
Yeah,
and he's kind of like, oh, so you guys are doing a Dynamite episode, are you now? The episode starts off with, of all people, Lance Storm saying like, I got to tell you, there was a time in my life when that Dynamite was one of my favorites, but just knowing what we know about him today, I can't admit that in public. I was like, holy shit, this is where we're starting. And it goes down from there.
Yeah. So the first line, or an early line in this episode, is talking about how, I can't even say that out in public, man. Really? On the heels of the Grizzly Smith episode, we're going to talk about not wanting to admit. Oh my God, man.
Oh my word.
Dynamite, all I can think of, honestly, the first thing that pops in my head when you say Dynamite Kid is Bret Hart sitting at his house somewhere being like, yeah, I'll just think you don't like me. Y'all just think I'm a miserable piece of shit, don't you?
Well, oh yeah.
Feast your eyes.
He takes Prick to a whole new level. He stole that from me.
He did. I'm far better at it than Dynamite because I'm not 5'5", and I'm not miserable. I mean, I'm miserable, but Dynamite, he's an Olympian. He's brilliant.
I'm miserable. He's so awful.
For real. I mean, I enjoy misery as much as the next guy, but goddamn.
if 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 you needed something else to tie good old Tommy Dynamite to Bret Hart, I had no idea. If this had come up in a, a shoot interview or a Bret Hart DVD, I totally missed it. I had no idea that they married sisters.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
I
all that.
I knew it was he was in the family, but I had no idea that was that in the
It
family. But
went
Jesus
both
Christ,
ways. Yeah, man. It's like, dude, it's all that Stampede stuff, man. It's like, oh, excuse me, like when they talk about, yeah, the Stampede Boys, yeah, Stampede Boys in WWE gonna make all the money, gonna be real, real good, and we had those real hard hitting matches, and that he's exactly right. That's why Bulldogs and Heart Foundation was so awesome because they really were clocking each other. But yeah, you're like all four of those guys crossover. Like, oh my goodness, this is nuts, man.
I, I I knew that they were aware of each other, but
Yeah.
just to be that involved, is like I had if I had been told that, I completely missed it. I was like, what? So you had uh, Michelle was Tom's wife, and I want to say Brett's first wife was Diana, something like that. So I was like, hey, that was something new, and it just man, it's one thing after another with this dude. It's like what a piece of crap.
It's, he is a miserable cockbag of a person, man. It's
Oh man.
um probably he'd almost have to be the single most influential wrestler since Carl Gotch.
Mm-hmm.
But he's a difficult guy. Like we said, we talked about it with Brett. I love Brett. It can be
Yeah.
taxing sometimes to love Bret Hart, but I do still love him. Dynamite, I love watching his shit. I love all the DVDs of him and Tiger Mask, but fuck that guy. It's like, nah,
Yeah.
this one's not. It was harder for me to cut Benoit loose than it was Tommy Billington, and that sucks. I mean, that's a really crappy thing to say, but as far as just watching them work and doing their thing, man, I don't know. I mean to be that way, but yeah, it's like, just, yeah, let's go again. But you're the episode that follows Grizzly Smith, and it's gonna be like, oh no, we can go further down. Like,
Yeah.
God.
Y'all just think y'all seen some shit.
Oh God.
And they're telling the Dynamite stuff and how he gets to the WWF and uh, they have Michelle there and she's telling her side of all these stories and you know making it sound like even early on in the relationships like oh, this stuff sounds kind of like there might be some I don't know if it's Stockholm syndrome still affecting her years later. It's like how crazy did he drive you? Uh, because it gets to the WWF days, and of course they get to the incident with the Rougeau brothers, and you know she kind of she doesn't totally say I'm not going to talk about that, but she kind of does that thing like how many times do I have to tell this story? There's this not the only thing that ever happened to this guy, but the Rougeau story comes right after, and it's maybe it's part of the fact that because Jacques has outlived everybody, and his brother's still alive, but everybody that's involved in what happened to him, he gets to tell his version of it, and that just becomes gospel. But it feels like I've heard 40 different versions of it. He's outlived Mr. Perfect, Bad News Brown, Dynamite Kid, uh, and so maybe now this is part of it. He gets, but there was a lot that got revealed from that story that I was like, I don't know if this is BS or not, but maybe it's just part of Jacques just t- being a good storyteller, trying to work it up. Uh, but Michelle's take is like, okay, how many times I tell the story? This is not the only thing that ever happened to this guy, but at the same time, everybody goes back to this being the beginning of the downfall. Like, well, maybe it was the worst thing that ever happened to him. But anyway, from to hear this version of the story is, for whatever reason, Jacques Rougeau just kind of had that, and to this day, kind of has that era about him. Like, I don't think we could hang. Seems to be a little bit of a up his own butt, you know, a talker, and uh, that's fine and good. I can work with people like that. Don't necessarily mean that we're gonna be bros and all. But his version of the story is he is coming into the locker room one day. Kurt Henning's sitting at the far end of the locker room. Hey, come over and play some cards. And he knew that's all he had to say to me because I was a card player and I'm going to come over and play with him. And so he's sitting there, and just out of nowhere, Dynamite just right across the back of his head. He falls down. Dynamite's kicking him across the face. Cut to the incident is the next time he's there and healed up and gonna see Dynamite. He has a roll of quarters in his hand. And I think this is the part of the story that I think Bad News Brown, guys like that, were there for. And this version of the story, because for whatever reason, Ray Rougeau, the one that to this day I don't think anybody really want to mess with, I don't think was there, but I think that was probably Dynamite's saving grace for not getting killed. Is he wasn't there, and I don't know if he was injured at the time or what the deal was. But anyway, Jacques takes it upon himself to, the next time I see him, I've got to do something. And Dynamite's walking into the locker room, and they say their hellos. He's holding his coffee, gives him a big smile, and he takes his roll of quarters and right across the face, and just all the teeth get knocked out and all this, that, and other thing.
Chiclets.
Yes. But that's pretty much it. But it was Michelle who says, I just don't see where Dynamite deserved that after what he did. It's like, well, you're the only one.
Yeah, I was going to say that you would be absolutely ALONE on that one, because that's the one routine, or not routine, but one of the most consistent commentaries on the Dynamite Kid from everybody other than Mick Foley, who is just sweet. You got to remember, Mick is a nice guy. Yeah. So Mick decides.
I like that guy.
Was he in the Dynamite Kid episode?
Oh yes.
I think you're saying, because he's got that great story that he makes a great story because he's such a champ about it. Mm-hmm. But
and Dynamite breaks his jaw for no damn good reason.
Yeah, and that's the point. That was what made the story so funny in the book, is how, I'm like firing up on Davey Boy in the corner, and he just starts giggling, and I'm like, whoa, what's that about? And he's like, he fucking knew, because he's like, Dynamite is on the rope, like, just dying, and it's like, that is indicative of Dynamite Kid. He was just a cocksucker. He was just an absolute cocksucker. So I'm sorry that you picked the wrong person to fuck with, and they wound up brass knucking your ass. But I'm very much with you on, like, you're lucky it was that one.
Yeah.
Because I'm with you. It's like, Jacques, cool. I like Jacques Rougeau. It was neat to see him again on there. I haven't seen him in a long time, man. He's looking real good. Good for him, man. But I'm with you, Raymond Rougeau. And it might be inaccurate, but I've only ever heard stories about Ray Rougeau's a bad guy.
Yeah.
It's the one you don't want to get with. And I mean, it sucks. I mean, I hate for Tommy to get so messed up, but at the same time, it was coming. You finally, one of these days, you're gonna come across the wrong person. And hey, man, that is a life lesson, because it's true. It's like, someday somebody's gonna be bigger and badder, and a hell of a lot less concerned about what happens to you. Mm-hmm. Enter the Mountie. It sucks, but it's the truth. It's especially, again, I don't know about him just wiping him in the back of the head. It seems like there's probably something missing from that story. But at the same time, it's like, okay, you're in the locker room, you're blowing steam and talking all that shit, and you just had to hit a guy in the back of the head, and it's all like, Well, if he'd hit you in the back of the head with those quarters, it would have killed you. So at least he punched you in the fucking face, man. I don't mean to be that way, because like I said, I didn't watch it, but excuse me, Jacques. Hey, look, I don't know. I'm piggybacking on exactly what you said. I don't see any reason for him to deserve that. You're exactly right. You're the only one. You're the only one.
And years after the fact, you're the only one.
Yeah, for real, man.
And just for what she describes that he did to her, like maybe that was you don't see this guy had it coming.
Yeah, for real. It's like, even if Jacques Rougeau didn't know it to him, maybe that was your receipt. It's like, you know that Jacques wasn't the French Canadian vengeance for everybody.
And
tell me Mick Foley was cut into this scene when they were talking about Jacques Rougeau knocking out Dynamite Kid. He's like, "That's what you get, goddammit! He got that right, Mountie, go get him!"
Yeah,
he's all celebrating.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, get him!
Do it for Dewey.
Yeah, seriously, it's like Tommy Billington got punched right in the face by Jacques Rougeau. They cut to a scene of Foley. Louis Foley's a 12-year-old boy. He's like full on, just goes right back into it.
Jacques hardcore. Even that story evolves to another level where it's kind of like, this is the part where it's kind of like Jacques like, all right, come on, you taking too many victory laps here.
Victory laps.
He's dead and gone.
He's got the Stanley Cup. He's like giving it a kiss. Seriously.
You won. We
get it. You won.
Yeah. So now there's a connection to Jacques Rougeau and a character from a previous episode, Dino Bravo.
Yeah, Dino. Here we go again.
Connected to some people. Speaking of people you don't want to F around with, some of Dino's friends. And so Jacques has, and to me, everybody kept talking about how, if Dynamite comes back and gets his receipt, as far as I'm concerned, that they were even Steven.
I was paid in full. You done. So,
and Jacques is aware of that, and supposedly there's an envelope that he's written. I don't know if he writes Tommy Billington's name on it or what exactly it is. I think he gives it to Dino Bravo, and I think he gave it to Dino Bravo because he knew Dino was going to run his mouth about it. So he tells Dino, he said, because Dino knew the same people, the same mobsters that killed his ass.
Yeah.
And so, knowing that this story will get back to Dynamite, he tells him that I have a guy here in this. And it's some of the stories on the show kind of like it does. There is a feeling of kind of like, wait, what? But part of it is trying to squeeze a bunch of years into 34-minute or 45-ish minutes and 15 minutes of commercials. But so there's some things that get kind of skipped over, and you're kind of like, we'll go back to that. But at the same time, they do a really good job. So I'm not trying to give them full mass. But anyway, basically it gets back to Dynamite that Jacques knows Dino knows some people that will straight up show up and murder your ass. And basically Jacques says, I have a number in this envelope that I have to call every night. The one night I don't call will be the night that they show up at Dynamite's house to get rid of anybody in that house. And that's enough to basically scare the ever-living shit out of him, enough to sell their house, leave the WWF, and go on his merry way. And it gets if there's any animosity that Michelle would have towards him, I could see somebody putting your family through that would make you kind of a little hot.
It
But
wouldn't be buds.
at the same time, Jacques Rougeau does finally, and I say finally because this is like this the first time I've ever heard any part of this story. But he says, "I knew that story would get to him, and it worked," which is his way of saying it was all a work.
Oh, sure.
So, you know, all that being said, I mean, it was one of those episodes. It's like, oh my god.
Oh, it's over. Thank Christ.
But could not believe just how well his daughters seem to have turned out. They seem to be well-rounded, well-spoken, not too psycho crazy girls. Uh, he has a son that didn't show up on the episode. I was afraid that that was going to be the reveal at the end, is that he wasn't with us anymore.
Oh man.
But he is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just apparently he's just that type of person. He's like, man, I have no interest in being on TV whatsoever.
Yeah, I can dig it. Sorry, but my reaction was to sorry. My reaction was imagining watching the show and being like, "Oh man, don't come on, that would suck." Just that feeling would suck. So that's good. That's not the case, man. It's just it's not my thing. Excellent.
Yeah, and what a little bit I did hear about. Speaking of the matches with Tiger Masses, they reached out to him to be interviewed, but I think he's having some health problems at the time that they were filming it and wasn't able to do it. But that was something that they tried to do. So I was interested to hear that. That's it's just one of those kind of episodes like, oh man, yeah, that's about what I expected.
Oh man, oh jeez.
Christ.
Dynamite Tiger Mask is one of those. Let's see, we can do like our favorite ones: Dynamite Tiger Mask, Flair and Steamboat, Masawa and Kawada, and all points in between, solo matches, tag matches, whatever you got. Masawa Kobashi. There's just certain rivalries that, man, when you really start like seeking them out and watching them, it's not just that they're as good as you've heard. It's like, I'm gonna be watching this for the rest of my life, man. It's amazing. And that stuff really is awesome. It's again, it's the birth of. I think somebody says it in that show that it's like Dynamite Kid was the birth of modern wrestling, and it's like, yeah, that's exactly what it is. You have Dynamite Kid people, and it was weird. Marty and Sarah. You mentioned Marty and Sarah again because Marty and Sarah last week was incredibly depressing, and it was really, really sad. And I was glad they gave themselves a week off. I thought I thought an 18-minute episode just to tell us what had happened and the good news that had happened too. I'm like, well, that's 18 more minutes than you owed us. So
you believe that worked?
It was cool. It was cool, man. Like, all right, good. That's cool. But it's nice to have him back because I'm such a psychopath for that show, man. And once again, I mean, the streak continues, man. Whenever they go into the wrap up, I'm all like, oh. And then you look at it, it's like, well, man, you've been listening to this for 45 minutes. It's like they'd never ever shortchange you. It's just like, oh man, you always want more. They're that good.
To be fair, I mean, I don't mean to say that about the last episode, but I remember the episode when they revealed that they were indeed a couple, and that was my reaction was like, "That's work."
They're working. They're working us, man. You gonna come back here in 3 weeks, man? Sarah's gonna have a hood on, and she's gonna come out with a new stable.
That's fake. And now they've revealed that they are engaged to be married. I was like, "That's work."
They're still working, y'all. They're still working.
They ain't gonna get me.
They ain't even a couple, y'all. I know what's going on. I can see them machinations. Machinations is a fun word to say in that voice. But they were talking about. I mean, the name of the show is like Bret or Shawn, and they're talking about Bret Hart people and Shawn Michaels people, and that got me thinking. And I was like, man, for modern wrestling, man, I'm definitely a Bret guy. But for everybody else, for just people that do modern pro wrestling, I'm like, yeah, most people are either Dynamite Kid or Shawn Michaels, and you've got lots of crossover, and there's lots of room in between. But it's like so many guys fit into one of those two. It's either you're either like the super incredible, unbeatable, tough guy, or you're Shawn Michaels and you're flying through the air. And it's like, yeah, that makes sense.
When they posed that on this episode this past week, I did file that away, and I think definitely while it was happening in my life and living it, I was 100% a Brett guy, and then the older I get, I think the more I go to the Shawn side.
Yeah,
So,
I'm still a Brett guy.
mhm.
My Shawn stuff is really more the people that are Shawn people. I love the Shawn people. Michaels has had some great matches and matches that I love. He's been in a couple that Hell in a Cell
It's
1 would be among my all-time elite WWE matches ever. That was way the hell up there. And it's great, too, because what does he do in that match? Nothing. He bumps
yeah.
and bumps and bumps and bumps and looks scared as shit of The Undertaker, and then Kane rescues him. And that's exactly what that match should be. It's so good. That is just a perfect match. And I guess it's because Michaels knew he was walking out with the belt. But Shawn was never one to do that big time shit in the ring. That drives me nuts when people are in the ring and they're just too big time to sell. I got a lot of issues with Shawn Michaels, but that was never one of them. Shawn was always about being the chicken shit heel who would take the good bumps, and he never ever underperformed. Man, I appreciate that.
And it's not like I'm one or the other. It's like people always try to do that. Beatles or Stones. Like,
That's,
how about both?
yeah, it's the Pulp Fiction Beatles or Elvis conversation.
Yeah,
Beatles people can like Elvis, and Elvis people can like the Beatles, but you always like one more than the other. And I agree. It's like, nah,
yeah.
there's lots of in between there. And but it's weird because I'm with you on like, so the older you get, the more you're a Shawn guy. And I think my thing with Shawn was the older he got, the more I became a Shawn guy because I loved his. Oh, Shawn Michaels lost his smile. I don't care about that stuff, man. But I can tell you this: every match, every big time match from the post. Oh, Shawn got his smile back. Here he comes. He had some wonderful wrestling matches. I thought it was great. Like I appreciate it. I remember you put this on for me, and I appreciate it because I begged, because I had never seen him and Hunter in the SummerSlam street fight. And as soon
Oh
as I
God, yeah.
mentioned it, you're like, "Oh, dude, you got to see that one." And we watched it, and it was like, man, I have heard how good this was,
Yeah.
and I still wasn't ready. I loved it, and that was just the beginning of all that stuff, man. And then you have, of course, have the Undertaker matches at WrestleMania, Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 19. Yeah, man, dude, Shawn had some awesome stuff, and also it's
Yeah.
nice these days. You actually see an interview with Shawn Michaels, and you don't want to slit your wrist. I love
Yeah.
Brett, but boy, he is a dour fellow, and
Yeah.
Shawn's not.
I was right surprised at the good reception that the Bret Hart A&E biography got. The people loved it. It's like, what? What? I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying, like, y'all saw something else. People are going on about it, like, oh, it's my favorite one. Like, y'all saw something that I didn't see. I'm sorry.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's Brett.
I'm just saying we've
It's
seen
about
it a
Bret Hart.
thousand times.
It's about Bret Hart, man.
If there was a saving grace of that biography, it was getting to spend some time with his current wife, and they just seem to be super cool together. And if there's been one that had that good feeling at the end, maybe that one does you. And the Foley one left you feeling pretty damn good at the end. Uh, but I just didn't see where it was head and shoulders above it.
Yeah.
It's like I was just like, he kind of did his Brett thing, pissed him off, off thing, and then at the end he's hanging out with his new wife and the kids. So I guess that kind of gives him some bonus points that I didn't want to give to him,
I
but
wasn't like
I
doling out.
yeah, man. So I was like, but yeah, people came out of the woodworks to talk about how great that was. Like, I didn't see it.
They must have
Whatever.
watched it after they watched the Billington Dark Side of the Ring, and like we were saying, like, God damn, Brett's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, compared to that, it would feel like freaking It's a Wonderful Life or something.
It was absolutely uplifting.
Oh Christ. It can't happen.
I am blessed.
Praise him. And all his mercies.
Not his mercies.
Speaking of the other show that I've started watching, just because basically it comes on after Dark Side of the Ring, so it usually kind of gets my attention, and before I realize it, the show's over. But it's the Dark Side of Football. And the thing about the show is, I think the people there at Vice kind of see how popular the Dark Side of the Ring is, and they're kind of like, "Yeah, man, let's let's sync this bitch."
Seriously, man.
And it's a completely different production company, completely different directors, but they really ripping them off hardcore. Because even the way it's shot, it looks practically the same. Problem is, they did the first episode was like diva wide receivers. The next episode I want to say was like the Raiders, and then they did an episode on Belichick, and this past week was about the Browns. But the point is, they're all the same episode for the most part. I mean, they can try to the episodes that they do try to single in on one particular person or a particular team. It all boils down to like, we gotta play tough. NFL gotta play, and that is the underlying theme of every single episode. And it feels like, yeah, y'all have told this story every single time this year.
Do you ever see the John Oliver conversation about the WWE?
Oh yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
If you're not doing that about the NFL, if you're not doing that about what the owners are, what the Players Association is, they don't even use the word union. And there's a very specific fucking reason for that. If you're not going to talk about that, you're not talking about the dark side of football. The first time you say, oh, diva wide receivers, let's be blunt. What are you talking about? A bunch of black kids shucking and jiving and talking a bunch of. You're in the wrong spot. If you're not talking about labor versus workers in the NFL, you're not talking about the dark side of football. Get the fuck out of here with that horse shit. Get out of here. It's like you said, you only called it that to strip behind the popularity of your wrestling show. That's it. And then you come with this ticky-tack horse shit about Chad Ochocinco and the freaking. Get the fuck out of here, man. Nah. Well, Belichick. We talk about Bill Belichick. Sure, you could. Fuck you. It's not even close. If you're not going to go after the NFL as a business entity, you are not talking about the dark side of anything. So fuck you with your cute little. It's just such a clout grab. It feels like one anyway, and that's the whole point. It's like, again, John Oliver. John Oliver took more of a shot at the NFL and his WWE thing than anything on that show will be, where he's talking about how WWE's worker conditions are worse than the NFL, and it's like, if you are, what did it say, man? If you're lower than the NFL, you are subatomic, or you are subterranean. It's like, love it, because it's true. It's like, how in the world can you treat your labor pool worse than the NFL? It's, oh, that's how. It's fascinating. Yeah. But yeah, I hate that junk. And again, it's more just the same, where it's that thing that we talk about where it's like, I don't want to say opposition programming, because that sounds really stupid, but it's true. It's what everybody does now. We've talked before about how it's my belief anyway, that remember when Howard Stern sort of called himself the king of all media? Mm-hmm. It's actually true, because what got him such unbelievable ratings, they even pointed out in the movie where they're talking about how the reason his ratings are so crazy is because people that love him listen for like 12 minutes, and the people that hate him listen for 30 or whatever it was. And that's the point is, man, it's like, what was it? Well, you catch more flies. If you catch more flies with honey, well, actually you catch the most flies with shit. If you piss people off, they stick around, and people know that now, and that's the entire point. Sorry. Anyhow, There was a point in there somewhere, but I forgot what the hell it was. But the second you say the NFL, you think you're going to get those people to watch, and then you're not even talking about the real stuff because you're too, honestly, let's be honest, talking about people you don't want to mess with. You're too afraid to talk about that stuff, man. You can't do that. So it's like, fine, but I know you're full of crap, so why am I wasting my time with this? But I am glad that Dark Side is still as good as it was. Because like you said, I had no idea it was completely different. It makes sense. Because the Dark Side of the Ring guys obviously love wrestling so much. It's not that they can't like football, but it just seems like an awful lot of time to dedicate to football as opposed to wrestling. So when you say it's not the same people, I'm like, oh, no, that makes sense. Okay, that totally makes sense, man.
So, and we're doing all we can do to get these seasons of Dark Side of the Ring out. How are we going to add a whole nother?
Dude, seriously, we can't go make another series. It totally makes sense. Like, first of all, it's a lot of work and a lot of editing, a lot of travel. Secondly, we have to recover spiritually from spending that much time with Tommy Billington. Damn.
Yeah.
What do y'all want us to do?
What you want from me?
For real, leave me be.
If I see me, I ain't nothing to you.
I don't even like you no more.
Try to kill me. But yeah, man, and at the same time, much like Dark Side of the Ring, there are a few people that show up on some of the episodes. There's a few points that get made, and like, man, that's pretty good. But very rarely does it happen. I mean, for the most part, it just feels like every single episode's like, you got to play hurt in the NFL. Somebody's gonna take your spot. You got to play hurt, man. That's what we did when the coaches and them, mom and them. And I was like, man, whatever. It's all the same episode, regardless of what they're talking about. It's all the same.
That shit goes back. It does. It's going to sound like a stretch, but it's true. That shit goes back to the gulf that I was talking about between the ownership and labor. Because how often do you hear NBA players bitching and whining about how many guys get so much time off now? You fucking don't. That's the answer. Reporters will do it. Skip Bayless will do it, and Shannon Sharp will do it. Shannon doesn't really get him so much for that. The Stephen A. Smith is outraged, taking all this time off for what the hell is the term they use, man? It's not maintenance. I'll think of what it is in a second, but it's the term that was created by the Spurs for Kawhi Leonard. Load management. Load management, man. You got players taking time off for load management. When I was Stephen A. Smith growing up, Lottie Don, Willis Reed, and Magic Johnson. I hate Stephen A. Smith anyway because Stephen A. Smith is just a liar. He's a liar. He goes on TV and he lies. And he waves his arm around and makes a huge spectacle of himself. But he's a liar. So that's just how I feel about that dude.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But NBA players don't talk that shit. All you ever hear about, man, the 90s were so much tougher and the 80s were so much tougher. That's always fans, old heads, and reporters. The players don't say that stuff because labor in the NBA is actually really, really strong. And those guys built the league. The guys now reap the rewards, and it's like, yeah, that's how that's supposed to work. NFL ain't like that. The fact that guys make $1 million a year now, it's like, well, everybody know $1 million a year. It's out there, tough guy. I'm Chuck Bednarik, man. I play both ways. And it's like, yep, that's it. That's it. That's labor in America. We're all supposed to hate everybody. Anybody that makes more than us, anybody that makes as much as us, we're supposed to hate each other. And the NFL is a perfect example of that. It's one of the reasons, it's number one sport in the country. Okay, cool. I'm telling you, but it's supposed to be whatever the bosses give you, you're supposed to say thanks. And then when they renegotiate, you're supposed to say, oh, that's fine, no problem. It sounds ridiculous, but it's true. If you live in this country and you work in this country, it's true. You're supposed to live in complete abject fear of your bosses. That's how it is. In the NFL, that's the way the NFL is. So, of course, we're going to do more of the dark side of the NFL. We're going to expose football. And then you're still talking about the same stuff they want you to talk about. It's pitiful, man.
Heck yeah.
On the subject of pitiful, and we can talk more football, don't you just love how people went from, they're never going to go beyond 4 playoff teams. It's never going to go beyond 4. You're crazy. It's going to be 4 forever. Those same people. Are they going to go to 12? Are we going to have a 12-team playoff? What do you think about 12? And I'll tell you what I honestly think about this. The man's known me a long time. You've had to listen to me talk about college football for a long time. You talk about going to a 12-team playoff where 6 of them are guaranteed to be conference champions. And it's like, well, it's going to be the highest rated conference championship according to, yeah, which basically anything to do with rankings means, well, ESPN still retains the right to put whoever the fuck we want in there. But that's not even the point I want to make. The point I want to make is you're telling me you're going to have a playoff that is not a measly 4 teams where conference championships actually matter. And when I tell you, I still could not care less. Man, that tells you all you need to know, doesn't it? I knew they were ruining the game. This is proof positive. Even I don't care anymore. Even I don't care anymore. It's like, nah, you can't get it back. I don't care. I just don't like it anymore. I don't care. And I guess it's because now that I've gotten older, I think all the shit's scripted anyway. But the stuff that I really like, it's okay. I'll watch it and still enjoy it. But college football, I'm like, I don't care about this shit. I just don't. Ooh, pardon me. So the expanded playoff, it's all like, oh man, that's what you wanted, isn't it? And maybe when I wanted it, but I don't care now, man. So that's just what I got from that story is like, yeah, you are 100% out of this shit. You really don't care anymore, obviously. Okay, cool, man.
Thrill's gone.
Yeah. And there's other stuff I'd rather watch, man. Basketball is my absolute number one. It's tricky, man. Braves and United are hard, man, because I love soccer and I love baseball, and it'd be very difficult for me to pick which one of them is second. They almost have to be tied for second because I really dig them both, man. So it's like, oh, this is tricky because like we've talked about, man. I think the benchmark for a sport you really love is if your team is in it, that's awesome. But if you just sit and watch anybody play, that's a good sign that you really love it. So, man, I turned on today and Mexico and Honduras were playing. And it was real cool. I'm like, yeah, Mexico and Honduras. And they go to the opening shot of the game. And I'm like, boy, that field looks awful familiar. And I look up and all the seats are black and red. And I'm like, these cats are down the street. And they were. They literally had an international friendly between Mexico and Honduras at Mercedes-Benz.
Sweet.
And Mexico's team, the nickname is El Tri. It sounds weird to us, but it's TRI, like the 3 colors. So they call them the 3. And their fan base won't surprise you a bit. Pretty passionate.
Mm-hmm.
Mexico's national soccer team's fans are pretty great. And they packed that son of a gun out. It was awesome. It was so freaking awesome. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. So, but again, same thing where it's just like, yeah, it's 2 teams and they're playing. Cool. All right, cool, man. Basketball, I'll watch anybody. College basketball, I don't really watch anymore. The WNBA I'll watch, but I like the dream. I don't know if I would watch just anybody. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to do like the pecking order because like in the NBA, I don't care. The Hawks, of course, are beyond everybody, but it's fun to watch anybody play. And I'll tell you, man, the Western Conference playoffs right now are, damn, it's fun. I really do hope that, I hope that Utah beats LA. And Phoenix and Denver, I would like to say I was neutral on, but we talked about it on here before a couple of years ago, I think now, man. 2 years ago, you watched Atlanta play against Phoenix when both of them had awful records. Pardon me. What you would learn, at least at that time in the NBA, and it's still true now, is win-loss record don't tell you nothing. Nothing. They were so much fun to watch those teams go at each other. And even, we had god-awful records, but it was awesome and scrappy and just skillful and fantastic. Fast forward 2 years later, and the Hawks have that galvanizing coach that has them playing really, really well. And the Suns have Villarica's own Jay Crowder and Chris Paul, and it's like, man, these teams are real good. This is totally awesome. But I think we talked about this earlier too. I really, really hope the Western Conference Final is Utah and Phoenix. And it's not just because they were 1-2 as far as the seedings go. Oh, that's nice. But the seeding it doesn't always tell you the story. Pardon me. But I like both those teams. And I really like both those fan bases because they're loud and very vocal and loyal. And happened for a long time. Jazz been in Utah a long time now. The Suns have been in Phoenix for a long time now. So I would love to see that series. That would be awesome. So I'm kind of kind of hoping that's what we get there. And I keep trying to do scenarios because we're kind of in a position we're close. Philly's the only team I can't watch. Joel Embiid just I can't stand that guy. He doesn't do it for me. I don't like that guy. My biggest problem with Embiid is that everybody in the media fucking loves the taste of that guy's ass, apparently, because they can't stop kissing it. And it's like, okay. But I've heard a lot of people that say they want a Brooklyn Clippers final, and that would be cool. I could watch that, but I'd rather watch any. Dude, Hawks Suns would be the coolest thing in the world. I would love that. But man, it's tricky, man. I think Phoenix Atlanta is what I want, but Phoenix versus anybody except Philly. I can't watch Philly, and I mean it because I'm not even watching the Hawks right now because I just can't stand Embiid and I can't stand the coverage of it because it's just so one-sided. When they win, Ben Simmons is awful, and when they win, Joel Embiid's a god, and it's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's fun. I guess the thing is I've got 3 series I can follow now, and as long as till we get to unless Philly makes the final, and then I'll just have to be done with it. But so long as there's East and West, I can keep watching because that's cool, man. But Utah Phoenix, I got my fingers crossed for that, man. It was like San Antonio and Golden State a couple of years ago. I really wanted that, and then it happened, and then freaking Kawhi got hurt, and that sucked. I hated that Kawhi got hurt, but it was cool. The series was cool till that happened.
Yep. Heck yeah, man. Is that good shit?
Yeah, man. There's playoff basketball, and the European Championship in soccer got started, and I need to get caught up. I basically kind of punched out for the weekend because France plays on Tuesday, and that, unsurprising to the man and anybody that's seen the show before, France is who I'm rolling with. I'm pulled for him, and it makes me happy because I'll explain to you guys really quickly if you've never seen before the France story. First of all, I love the country. I've always been obsessed with it. I finally got to go, and I just thought I loved it before I went. That place is... I loved it. I loved it. It was fantastic. But as far as the soccer team goes, summer of 1998 was right after I had graduated high school. And the World Cup started, and I was able to keep up with it. And I was like, yes, France is the host nation. I love Andre the Giant. I've always liked France. Let's pull for them. And they freaking won the whole thing. So it's just fortune, just good luck. But I'll take it. So I pulled for France, usually in international tournaments, especially European tournaments. And they won the last World Cup, too, which was great. So I would love it if they could double it up. They did last time. Like when they won it in 98, they won Euro 2000. So let's see if they can do it again. Double.
Double down.
It'd be cool. It'd be cool, man. So I'm like, all right, let's see. That's what I'm hoping happens anyway. And also, as far as the Euros go, man, you can't. If England puts together a good run, I can never feel bad if England puts a good run together because they did invent the sport after all. But man, it's just crazy. It's like so many times the England national team in soccer, the England national football team. It's fun to say it that way. It's like when Steinbrenner had his death grip on the Yankees, and but people don't get when you say that. Man, George Steinbrenner, man, are you kidding me? They won all those championships. What are you talking about? In the 90s, they only won because they kicked his ass out of baseball. And Gene Michael was left alone and was able to not trade Bernie Williams and Derek Jeter and Andy Pettit and Jorge Posada for free agents or for big known players. And they rattled off championships because George was sidelined. The second they bring George back, they don't win anything anymore. And it's all like, but that's kind of what the English FA is like. It's like, man, they get so enamored with star power and marketability, they never bother to try to put the best team out there. And it's like, you're England, for God's sake. You got talent. I mean, just try, for God's sake. Put these guys together. You could. I'm not saying you'll win everything, but you should have won something. Jeez, they haven't won anything since 1966, man.
Yeah.
For the love of God.
And your whole body. Put a team out there.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, man.
Sorry, man.
That's that good stuff.
Oh, what else? There was. Oh, I know one other thing I wanted to discuss because this goes back on something you were talking about in the last show. Did you hear this story, or did you see the little clip of Billy Corgan and Mickey James talking about the NWA's All Ladies pay-per-view?
Oh yeah, man.
How great is it going to be if I forgot her freaking name? I'm sorry. Ah, shoot. I'm sorry. I forgot the name she's going to be now. Wouldn't that be great if Ruby Riott showed up for that?
Yeah, man.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm like, dude, because you were just talking about how cool it would be for her to be there. And I'm like, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
And it
man.
sucks. We were just talking about how great it was that Serena was the champ and they took the damn belt off of her, man.
I know
But that's,
that's kind of
yeah.
it's a bit of a bummer,
Yeah, I
but
thought so too, because I ain't trying to diss Camille. And as far as like, she might be great. I've never seen her wrestle. I've only seen her as Nick Aldis II. And doing like, heel valet stuff, not valet stuff. She's manager stuff. So that jumps in the ring and beats people up and stuff. And she's good at that. And as far as wrestling goes, she might be great. They gave her that title. She must be pretty good. But I'm like, only because I just ain't nobody coming in to take it off for that quick. I hope not anyway.
yeah,
But still, if it's Loveless, what the hell's Heidi Loveless?
Heidi.
Sorry,
Yeah,
yeah. If Heidi Loveless shows up at that NWA tournament, that would be dope as hell. I would love that.
that'd be hella tight.
Yeah,
That'd be hella
he
tight.
gets entertained.
Yeah, man. I I hadn't heard her say if that's what she was going to go by or not, as I wasn't sure. But I wouldn't see why not.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I don't know if she owns it. It's cool either way. Cause hey man, excuse me, Ruby shows up. Ain't none of us gonna. Oh, is that who I think it is?
Huh? I don't buy it.
Yeah, it's work.
Yeah,
That's
work,
work,
brother.
man. Let's go tell me next. Marty and Sarah getting married. Mark, Mark will believe anything.
Go.
Go.
Yeah, man.
But seriously, Bill Goldberg won like 157 matches in a row.
Yeah, man.
Get
That's
back
real.
to the things that are important, things that are
Real
real.
talk.
Real talk.
That's what's up, man.
Yeah, man, I think so, man. I appreciate the call, y'all. Thank you for watching.
That's cool, man.
Hell yeah.
I'll see y'all.
Yeah.
Bye.